Welcome. In this video, we will look at how to differentiate a given expression using power rule. So suppose I am giving a question where it says in general terms ax b, and I have to differentiate this using power rule. Okay, so let's write it like that: y equals to axb, and I'm expected to find dy over dx, which is the derivative of this y term with respect to x. Now let's look at what power rule is. So suppose if this is a general expression which says y equals to axb, if I take the derivative term on both sides, I will take dy over dx, and then I will also do the differentiation here, axb divided by dx. Okay, so on the right hand side I will apply the first rule, in which a is my constant, so I will take it out of the derivative term, because constant which is being multiplied with x does not get affected by the derivative operator. So a will come out here, and then I will write the remaining term dxb over dx. Now the power rule states when you apply the differentiation to a term which has power, the first step is to bring the power down next to the derivative. So I'll write b here. Then next step is to take 1 away from the power. So I will write it x b minus 1. And then the next step is to take the derivative of the inner term, which is given as dx over dx. Okay, so in the middle this is the multiplication sign, it's not x, or you can just simply remove this multiplication sign as well if you don't like it. Okay, and then we know that derivative of x with respect to x is equal to 1. So our answer here is a b x b minus 1. Okay, so that is how we apply power rule. Now let's practice that and see a couple of examples how you can apply this power rule. So say I have a question where I am given y equals to 2x squared, and I have to find the derivative of y with respect to x. So what would be my step 1? My step 1 would be, let's write it down here. So step 1, apply the derivative operator on both sides of this one. So this will become dy over dx, and the right hand side will become d2x squared divided by dx. Okay, then we have step 2. So in step 2 we will apply the constant rule first, because we have constant being multiplied. So constant rule is simply you take the constant out of the derivative, because it does not get affected by the derivative rule. So we simply write 2 on the outside, and then the inner term stays like this. Okay, now step 3 is we apply the power rule. And what is the power rule? Power rule says write power outside the derivative, take 1 off the power, and then the derivative of the inner term. Okay, so once again, write power outside the derivative, take 1 off the power, and the derivative of the inner term. So it's a 3-stage process. Okay, and that's what we have done here. And as you know, derivative of x with respect to x is simply 1. So we can ignore that, we don't have to write it. Now we simplify. So this is 4x, and if you take 1 of 2, it becomes 1, or you don't really have to write 1 in power. So your answer is 4x. So the derivative of 2x squared is 4x. Let's take a look at another example to solidify our concept. Okay, let's say we are given, we need to find the derivative of the term y equals 3x power 4. Okay, so we have to find the derivative of this term. Now, how do we do that? Once again, we'll take step 1. In step 1, we will simply apply the derivative operator on both ends. So it will be dy over dx. And on that side, it will be d3x4 over dx. Now, in step 2, we will apply the constant rule of derivative or derivative rule of constants, which will, in this rule, you will take the constant out of the derivative because it doesn't get affected by the derivative. So dx power 4 divided by dx. Okay, and now we have step 3 where we apply the derivative rule of powers, which is you take the power out of the derivative, which is 4 here, take 1 away from the power, which is like this, and then the derivative of the inner term. Now this is important. Derivative of the inner term, here it's only x, so derivative of x with respect to x is 1, so it doesn't affect. But in more complicated questions, there will be times when it won't be just x, it will be something else, and it will change your final answer. So it's important to make sure you take the derivative of the inner term as well. All right, so once again, your derivative of x with respect to x is just 1, so you don't have to write it. And you simplify, so your answer will be 3 times 4 is 12 and x power 3. So this is your derivative with respect to x. Okay, so once again, we have used power rule here. You were supposed to find derivative of 3x squared power 3x power 4. In the first step, you applied the derivative term on the both sides, or derivative operator on the both sides. Then you took the constant out in second step because constant doesn't get affected by the derivative operator. Then in the third step, you applied the power rule, which is take power outside the derivative, subtract 1 from the power, and then take the derivative of the inner term. Okay, and then you have found the derivative of 3x power 4 using simplification, which is 12x cubed, right? Okay, thank you.